Nana Akufo-Addo was yesterday sworn in for a second term in office as President of the Republic of Ghana. He was declared winner of the recent closely fought contest with former President John Dramani Mahama, who, as it were, has been contesting the outcome. Going forward, how can this state of affairs possibly affect the development of Ghanaian democracy? What can a second term in office for the current president deliver to the people of Ghana in terms of economic relief and the fight against COVID-19? For greater insight on all of these, we're now being joined from London, England, by Paul Ejime, a journalist and international affairs expert. In addition to issues on Ghanaian politics, he will be offering his thoughts on the coming on-stream of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Paul. Good morning.
My brother, how are you? Happy New Year to all of
you. Same to you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you very much for joining us. Well, quickly, let's start with Ghana. After the election on December 7 and all the fallouts, President Nana Akufo-Addo was inaugurated for a second term in office yesterday. And in his speech, he was very clear. He wants to build a stronger Ghanaian economy, as he puts it. And he wants to address a number of other issues. Nationwide electrification, he says, even if about 82.7% of Ghanaians already have access to electricity. He wants to build district hospitals. He wants to provide potable water. He also wants to build roads. These are some of the priorities that he's talking about. What's your assessment of his tone and also of the priorities that he has defined for his second term, particularly against the background of the fact that his election is still being challenged by the presidential candidate of the NDC, former President John Mahama?
Well, thank you. Well, let's start from the beginning. The fact that the election is still challenged. So that is where, so he could, without wishing that, but if the Supreme Court decides that he is not going to perhaps be talking about Mahama taking over. But let's assume for the purposes of this argument that he is still there, and then take him on what he has promised. Well, as you know, politicians are never short on promises, and particularly for Nana, a diplomat. He speaks, he can sell, refrigerator to people in the monsoon. But that is not the issue. It is on deliverance. It is the devil lies in details, whether he will deliver. He promised so much taking over from Mahama. One thing that he has done is just maybe the free education that he has done. The economy has stabilized because there was this depreciation and devaluation of the city. When those are some of the things that cost Mahama the office in 2016, and also the power supply that has stabilized. But there are still gray areas. One of them is corruption. Just a few days to a week or so before this election, the man who was prosecuting anti-corruption in Ghana resigned. And then what did he say? He said there was political interference. So there are issues on, corruption. And then the fact that Ghana under Akufo-Addo has about the largest cabinet, more than 100 member cabinet. I mean, for a country of 31 or 30 million people. That is one area that he needs to look into. And then the fact that the corruption still, there is what you call dollar for seat. I don't know whether you saw the protest by Ghanaians recently, whether in London or in the US. They were saying that before you could see the president, you needed to put down some money. So we're talking about $10,000 or $20,000 dollar for seat. Those are the areas. And then vigilante groups. There are armed groups that are operating. The accusation is that both parties were using this kind of illegal talks, political talks, and they were, using it to come against opposition. Those are the things that an Akufo-Addo second term should also address. And he also is wearing another cap as the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government. So that he needs now to look beyond Ghana, for regional integration. And then Ghana is now hosting the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade Area. These are but then remember, if you remember that you cannot be hosting that kind of organization and then be talking, people are complaining about some laws that you have in your country. I'm referring particularly to the issue of Nigerian traders in Ghana. If you are going to ask foreigners to pay more than $1 million to deposit before they do business, that is not facilitating business. And so Akufo-Addo will have to look at all those. So these are, and then, like I said, the jury is still out on his, election. Mahama has gone to court claiming, a litany of irregularities and then fraud. You saw what happened at the Ghana Parliament 2 days ago. They were supposed to elect a speaker, but it turned out that into a brawl. Even one of the MPs snatching the ballot box. That is not the conduct of civilized democracy. But that is what it has to deal with. Ghana also during the election, remember the violence. About 5 or how many people died. There were allegations of vote tampering and all that. So he didn't do well. That is what it is, because otherwise the opposition will not have gotten to the number of seats that they have in Parliament. The Parliament of 275, and the opposition, perhaps NDC, has about 137. That is why they were able to make the opposition MP the speaker. So that says something about the mile that he has to travel. Bumpy, rough, but he needs all the luck and all the determination and commitment that he needs to get things going for Ghana to rise. Because what happened in the election is a blight on Ghana that prides itself as the beacon of democracy in West Africa or Africa, if you must say. Yeah. That is not the conduct. Well, people may be referring to America that has now gone through in terms of its credentials about democracy. So democracy is still at work. Akufo-Addo will do well to deliver on his promises. It's not enough to promise heaven and then deliver hell. So let me stop there, and then if you have other
questions. Thank you very much. We actually do have other questions. So it's going to be a bumpy ride. He needs luck and determination, you say. But how easy do you think this will come? For the first time, we are having in Ghana where the president is from one party and the speaker of the parliament is from another party. We also have a parliament split right down the middle with equal numbers from the two political parties. So how easy would this be for Nana Akufo-Addo? Are you envisaging some political gridlock?
Well, if it was difficult while his party controlled the parliament, you imagine what it will be now that the opposition is in power. Assuming he rises through the court system and the court is legitimatized, or his victory is confirmed by the court. If as is, he's going to have a very difficult time, because opposition will be there, standing on his behind on his shoulders with all the pressures. But it's not so good for democracy. that in places where you don't descend into autocracy or dictatorship when you have a one-party system, because that is what most African countries are going into. That is what the president, most leaders want. That they want a parliament that is malleable, that is can control, and then also be able to talk about whatever rubber stamp is not good for democracy. So I think that it's not good for him. It's good for democracy, but for his presidency, it's going to be tough and tougher still, because he has a long way to go.
Right. Thank you so much, and it's good to see you again this year, Mr. Paul Ejime. Happy New Year to you. Real quickly, I just want to get an understanding. Based on what is happening now in Ghana, he did tout that project about one district, one factory, and a lot of people have said that project has been a failure because it's not really been able to industrialize Ghana. But Nana Akufo-Addo is coming into re-election. That means a very divided country. Like Adesowa said rightly, the Speaker of the House, back bin, is from the NDC, he's from the MPP, and they are split down the middle. And in fact, the one independent candidate, that's the candidate of Femina, who used to be an NDC member before, and there are talks about that person going back to the NDC if they could settle out their fight. As all of this rages on, the Ghanaian economy growth has dropped 0.9%. As at last year, 2019, prior to the coronavirus, the Ghanaian economy was growing 6.7%. And to now see growth now estimated to be 0.9%. There's an economic downturn. And if things continue this way, Ghana might be slipping into a recession soon. Do you think he has what it takes to restabilize the economy again and make it viable for the Ghanaian people?
Well, these figures can be bandied around. But what has it done to the ordinary man on the street? That is the issue. And so if it has not translated into food on the table, if you ask the typical Ghanaian you get the temperature of a political, gauge the temperature of any country, we're talking to ordinary folks like the drivers and people who are on the streets, not the elite. They will tell you that it hasn't really trickled down to them. You can talk about very high economic growth, performance. That is one thing. But how does it go down into to the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaians, and what food has it put on their table? How accessible can they get hospital, school? I mentioned that he's doing well in that area. But it's also the secondary school that he has promised.
Okay. Mr. Paul Ejime, just hold on for a bit. If you can hear, we'll go on a quick break. You'll come back and share those thoughts. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Still the one issue right here on the Rise News channel. We've got Mr. Paul Ejime, journalist, international affairs expert. In addition, he'll be talking to us about issues around Ghanaian politics and what happened yesterday. Like I said yesterday, I said the economic situation in Ghana. Nana Akufo-Addo is coming in to re-election as regards many things happening in Ghana. The economic situation, 6.7% growth before coronavirus. Now after coronavirus, it's now 0.9% growth. Ghana might even be leading to a recession very soon. You said it's not trickled down for the normal people, the citizens living in Ghana. I want you to continue with that line of thought.
Well, like I was saying, you mentioned the growth, 6%, and I was saying that, these are figures. Economics will reel them out and tell you, the World Bank, IMF, they will talk about that. But how does it translate to the pocket, to the table, putting food on the table of the average Ghanaian? That is where it matters, the pulse, and then their purchasing power. So I have said that if you talk to folks on the street, that they are not, relatively Ghana is doing better, doing well compared to the other countries in the region. And then maybe from the time he took over, let's give it to him that the economy is performing better. That's what I'm saying. But, put together, it's a basket. you can't isolate them and then begin to say, well, he's doing well in economics. But I have also mentioned areas that are negatives. And by the time you put all those together, you find that economic 6% or more growth is not enough to, in fact, that didn't guarantee him a better performance than he had in 2016. In 2016, he won by, more than 1 million votes. But now in 2029, or 2020 rather, he is struggling with less about half a million. It says something, and the fact that the opposition has eaten into the support at the parliament says a lot about that. So Ghanaians, outsiders, maybe because it's also good for you to. It is the person who wears the shoe that we know where he hurts. The average Ghanaians, they know you can float or show them these figures, but when it comes to real, the reality, they will tell you they voted according to how they felt, how they judged the performance of the assessment. And who else stands the better position or the best position to judge a leader than people from the country, the people that are being led. So outsiders, we can swallow all those, whatever he tells us. But we now have to go down to those that are feeling the pinch, to say, okay, how is this man feeling? This is what he has told us. How has it impacted the people in Ghana, the ordinary person in Ghana? I think that is where the issue is. He has now to translate that figure, that growth performance, into the growth into the people's pockets, and then put growth on the people's dining table. I think that is where that translation, there's a disconnect. And then he needs to bridge that gap. That's what I'm saying.
Paul, I think it's a very good development in Ghana that we have the opposition in charge of the parliament. It's good for democracy, isn't it? The MP from Tema West, who grabbed the ballot box and ran out of the chambers with it, eventually had to calm down. And even the former minister, Mrs. Usula Owusu-Kufo, who dropped her entire weight in the laps of another parliamentarian, eventually stood up. And Bajin emerged eventually as a speaker, Abba Bajin. And he's been congratulated by the president, who says he's going to work with him, and the rest of parliament, also congratulated by Mahama. But on that same day that we were having that drama in Ghana, and you alluded to this when you mentioned the United States, we had another type of drama in the United States. So I would like you to comment on that, because you were going to say a few things about the United States before you say, okay, let's move on to another thing. What are your thoughts on the situation in the United States that is usually the main seat of democracy?
Yeah, what happened in the U.S. It's been described in various, very damaging, terms. They called it an insurrection. Others called it an infamy. Some called it a coup d'etat. Others, but across the aisle, both Democrats and Republicans, to the point that President Donald Trump is now losing his ally. His vice president, if you listen to what he said even before the mob invaded, some call it an invasion, invaded the hollow chambers, the Capitol. I mean, that is a sacred place. It was desecrated. So that is, we cannot use that now as a barometer for performance of democracy, if you like. For the Ghanaians to also now replicate it, you wonder whether democracy is on the retreat. But that is not the issue. And in the two places, I'm glad you mentioned it, the two countries, the two legislatures, they came back to do their work. In spite of somebody snatching the ballot box, the military was, they were called in, soldiers were called in, but I overheard them, some of the MPs telling them, listen, this is not your area, you must leave. And they left. And Parliament resumed and was able to elect an opposition MP as a speaker. Then what happened in the U.S. after you look at the speed with which they cleared up, the two chambers for work to resume. That is respect for democracy. That is the respect for the Constitution. That says that if people commit to upholding the principle, upholding the performance and the system and institutions, that they can work. But you remember, we talked so much about the institution, but you also find that you can have people who consider themselves more powerful than institutions, like a President Trump. He felt that everything revolves around him. Hence, after addressing his supporters, how come he chose that day? And it was planned to coincide with the day that Congress was supposed to be counting the votes and certifying Biden as the elected president. He wanted to remove attention, because it's all about him, attention grabbing. This is a showman, a businessman that wants everything around him. I've seen a video of where he and his family, I hope the general one, were gloating and watching how the mob was attacking the American democracy, attacking Congress. I mean, one of the pillars of democracy. And they were laughing. Some were having a good time. Somebody had a birthday. I mean, that was the lowest that America could have gone.
Well,
and I was mentioning
that video may be fake. Some people say that particular video may be fake.
That was before he spoke at the rally. The video was before he spoke at the rally at the Capitol. It was before he spoke at the rally, not when the Capitol was destroyed.
In any case,
yes,
go ahead.
I can't quite get to that. He spoke at the rally.
Yes, saying that that video may not really reflect the truth about the situation.
Yes. So I can't quite get what, but I know we're still talking about Trump. He incited the mob, asked them to march to Capitol, to march to Congress. And Congress, very near, Ruben, you've been there. Pennsylvania Avenue. It was their clothes. And he asked them, he told them that he was marching with them. And that is part of the issue, the problem that America has to deal with. That with all these lies and with all this misinformation and alternative truth, some 74 million Americans still believed in this man. You saw people who died. A veteran, one of the lady that was shot at Congress, is a veteran, from California. This is somebody who believed, in fact, for her, God bless her soul. Trump was the gospel. Whatever Trump said, she was going to. In fact, she had posted in her, social media that January 6th was going to be what it turned out to be. So they planned it. So, but I wanted to, point out something, the panel there. The fact that America needs to take up, do some reality check. This is now, the foundation is shaking. They need to look at the integrity of the building and look at what some issues about how come you are leaving, somebody is elected on November 3rd or thereabout, and you have this long period of up till 20th January to inaugurate the winner. It leaves a very long room for a Trump to have done all the damage that he can do to the American psyche, to the American institution. That will take a very long time. America can no longer claim, the kind of the posturing that it used to have, the policeman of democracy in the world. Because some will say, they will bring back, they will show if anybody tells you, an American tells you about democracy, you can show them the images that happened on Wednesday. And how damaging can that be? How humiliating. So that is where I sympathize with Biden, because he has a lot to do. Remember, we are talking about Ghana. Maybe we can go back there, but it's a global war, global village.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. Would have loved to touch on the AFCFTA as well. But thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for being on the Money Show today.